Well, hello, everybody to the Pixologic stream. And we're going to go ahead and continue on. This is season number 4, episode number 11. We're getting pretty close to wrapping this up. I think maybe this time and next time we should be done. And I just want to, again, as we always do, just make sure that everybody can hear me okay and everybody can see my video. Looks like there's a few of you on already. And so if anybody wants to chime in, again, what we need to do is we need to get a kind of a heads up or a thumbs up or whatever from the 3 different services. Oh, cool. So it looks like somebody from Twitch already says that it's fine here. Thank you, Camelot Lord 91, and welcome on board. It looks like on YouTube we're coming good as well. So D, thank you very much. And let's see, I just need somebody from Facebook. I think there's a little bit of a delay, so if we can get Facebook as well, we can. Okay, YouTube is still good. Great. Game Examine, or I'm sorry, Game X Anime. Sorry. Cool. And yeah, good on Facebook as well, where we can get going. All right. So with all 3 of those done, I just want to make sure that everybody who's watching this, if you like this video, drop a like on whatever, if you're on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch. If there's a like option, click on it. And if you like this kind of video and you want to subscribe, then subscribe to it. So you can do that as well. And then if you want to leave a comment, that'd be great. Anything you want to talk about, or if things that you like, things that you'd like us to show. If you have questions, of course, you can ask during the stream. And if you have questions afterwards, leave them in the comments, and either I or somebody from Pixologic will get back to you Of course, you can always email me as well. I'll put up all my information in a bit. But just remember to do these things, please. It helps us, and I'm sure it makes you feel good about participating. All right. So with that done, we're getting pretty close to being done, like I said, with the mech. As a matter of fact, if I was doing this mech for, like, let's say, some sort of a illustration or an animation cartoon or something like that, I'd be done already. And I've done quite a few renders here. I load them up in Photoshop, so I'll show them to you guys. So I just basically did a bunch of shots of it. So here's one, here's another one. Here's this one, which I've applied a few effects in Photoshop, but not really that much, just like a background kind of a texture, and played around with some of the curves. Here is one that I posted onto Instagram. So you can see here I can get a lot of different shots, and these render pretty quickly, and I'll do a couple when I get done here in Photoshop. So here you can see the mech from different angles, and we're getting pretty close. Here I used the Grove plugin in Blender to create one tree, and then I just brought it in and rotated it around, so created a little diorama. I used fiber mesh for the grass down below. So I was just kind of playing around with what would this look like in a real world setting. So if you have a kind of a conifer type of a tree, the mech would kind of be at this height, and you can kind of see the guy down here. So it would be a pretty tall kind of a mech, and this would be a good way for it to hide in trees and whatnot. The only thing that would show are the legs, and it blends in pretty well with the tree line. And then here's another render, just a minor variation on the color, and here's another one too. So all these renders are pretty quick to do. They take very little time, and I'm mostly using the pre-built filters for non-photorealistic rendering in ZBrush, and I'm just tweaking a few things, and I'll probably do a little bit of that here today, just so you guys can see how that works. So I'm not going to save this. I should have saved it, but okay. I think I've got a copy of it. All right, so with that done, here's the mech, and also it's kind of looking a little bit multicolored here, and I'll talk about why that is in a minute. I did some kind of work behind the scenes to get it to do this, and there is a reason behind it. It's not a random thing. But first, let's go ahead and see what these renders look like. So let me get one started. Right, so here I'm just going to go into the render menu, and I've got it docked over here to the left, and I can just go ahead and just pick a nice angle, like something maybe like this. Maybe we're looking at it kind of from the bottom, and just give it a little bit of a rotation so we get a little bit of that. And let's turn on perspective. And here I'm basically using a camera angle that's 50 millimeter, like a 50 millimeter lens. 35 will kind of make it a little bit more extreme, or I can go to, let's say, 100 millimeter focal length, and you can see the difference between the two, where it basically shows you, the kind of the point of view changes. So I'm just going to go to 100. Let's say we're looking at this with binoculars from far away, and let's do an angle of, let's say, about this, and rotate it slightly this way. And by the way, these things that I'm doing right here would be a lot better with a space mouse, which I do not have. I didn't get one yet. I had an old one, and I thought it would work, but I don't think they make drivers for it anymore. So I probably should pick up one of the newer ones at some point. Okay, so now that I like this angle here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this angle because it's maybe an angle that I want to use again and again. And for that, I'm basically going to show my timeline. And that basically is in the movie menu under timeline. We talked about this a little bit last time, but if you weren't here, you can see it just under movie and show, and then it just basically puts this line over here, and then you can just drop a dot as to a pose that you like. And notice that there's a few here that I've created. So if I move this line, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. So I just have all these views saved up, and we'll go back to this one right here that we just made. And notice if I go in between, it goes in between the different poses. So I like this one right here, right? So, and then we'll just go ahead and render it. And I don't know which one of the filters is loaded, so we'll kind of see once it gets done as to what we get. And while that's happening, or here we go. There you go. I mean, that's, you know, right there. It just looks like somebody painted this in Photoshop or, you know, Procreate or something like that. And what I'm going to do here is just go to the different filters. So there's a bunch of them right here. And if I go to Lightbox, there is quite a few. Let me kind of limit this down so we can see what we're getting. And now I don't have to re-render it every time. I can just kind of go and say, well, what would this look like if it was a blueprint? Or what would this look like if it was this blueprint or this one? How about like something like this? You know, kind of like this is a little bit too much, I think, but you can tweak the different settings to get it to look better. And I think the one that I used was either this one. No, but I think it's the other one. You know, there's one like it. I think it's this one right here. Here we go. So right here, I'm getting pretty much something similar to the one on. So it's the one with these little dinosaurs. But you know, I could again continue to pick different ones. So I think there's this one is more of a line render. And again, you can always tweak the materials and whatnot. Here's another one. So you can see here, I'm just, you know, looking at different ones. These are actually pretty neat, the pixelated ones. And I think there's a couple of them. So there's that. Here's this one. And this one kind of looks nice too. It looks like some sort of a clay sculpture. These two here are new. And this actually, even with these kind of horrific colors that I had, this actually doesn't look that bad. So here's kind of another render. And of course you can anti-alias these, or you can choose the canvas size to be bigger so you can get them to be better looking. But if you're doing like an illustration of sorts of a comic book or something like that, and you need to use this Mech again and again, it's pretty easy to go ahead and do it. I see there are some questions coming in. I'll answer them in a minute. I particularly like this one, and not because of the kind of the acid green color here, but because it's a good kind of starting point for the Mech to have a color on it, right? And then I can go in here and say, okay, well, I don't really want that acid green color, but what if it was like a light tan? And so now you can see that I'm getting kind of a different look here with, again, just minimal tweaking of this color. And, you know, I can add like maybe an outline here. So I'm going to just go ahead and turn on this filter. Change the filter to a online, let's do an online outline edge. So now I'm getting an outline edge over here, and then let's say I want that edge to be a little bit harsher, and and then the front color, maybe change it around to something else. So you can kind of see now that I've got that same thing, and I'll turn that off to see the thing that I just added was this, I think, right here. Did I replace one that was already there? Let's see. I might have. It doesn't matter. But again, I you know, just to show you the one that I did use, it was this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and open these filters up again, and it's the one with the dinosaurs. That one right there. And so this is kind of my starting point. And then I'm like, okay, well, this looks good, but there's a lot of detail here that's lost. That would be nice if I added an outline. So here I'll look for one of these. So there's 12 different filters that you can use. And I'm going to go ahead, and the ones that have an open circle are ones that are actually being used. And so you can turn them on and off to see what they do. So this one right here is the color. And notice that if you actually applied polypaint or applied a material color, it would actually show up like this too. So you can get a kind of a neat image. So that was the first one, and then the second one is basically a flat shading, gives kind of the flat shading look. The third one is sharpening the image. The fourth one is doing displace, and displace is what's giving it kind of these rougher edges, so it's not crisp like a PC did it. And then there's two of those applied, and then there's a contrast applied and a sharpen again. And then these ones, the ones with the closed circles, actually are not doing anything. So I'm going to add one. This one, and I'm not going to add red, but I'm going to add the outline edge. So that would add that edge around here. So now it looks like I drew this in pencil and then just colored it in. And of course, you can always mess with the opacity of it. If you don't want it to be too overbearing, you can do that. And you can make that edge a little bit thicker too. So now it kind of is a little bit thicker. I don't think it looks that good. Or you can go the other direction. You can have that edge be kind of negative or kind of fade towards this color. So, I mean, you want a bluer or a grayer kind of an edge. You can kind of go and choose that outline color. I'm going to add one more, and that's going to be outline cavity. And that's going to do the same kind of thing, but it's going to outline the inner parts of that mech. So there's that. And here are the modifiers. I can say interior cavity, like so. Maybe not as much. Let's kind of make it a little bit less stated. And so here, there's my result. And if I like this, I can just save this image out as a JPEG or whatever. And then if I like that same thing, I can just go ahead and rotate the mech. And let's say we want a kind of a bottom shot of the hatch over here and the guns and the ammo and whatever. I can just go ahead and just render it again. And that will give me yet another render. Again, notice that the render time is pretty fast considering what we're doing, and I get this. Now, the problem is, the reason why I'm getting this is because I've got the floor on, so I'm looking at this through the floor, which I don't want. So I'm going to turn the floor off and do that render again. Notice it's going to take a lot less time because it pre-computed the shadows. However, it's still not right. I'm still getting these kind of funky effects, and that's because the shadow is pre-computed. So here I'll maybe make a little bit of a tweak to the angle here. Just a little bit of motion will recalculate that shadow. So now you can see here it's calculating the shadows again, which is fine. It's not going to take that long. And here we go. So now I've got this angle, and painting these kinds of details, it takes a little bit of time, even if you photo bash or whatever, but you can get kind of a really neat looking result like this. And you can continue to do these renders. Now, another thing that's kind of neat also is that you can change the lighting. So let's go back to our angle that we liked. So here's the angle that we liked. And what we want to do is we want to move the light. So the light right now is coming kind of from front and up high. But let's say the light's kind of lower, maybe coming in from this angle, and we'll go ahead and render it again. And this time what it's going to do is it's going to do that same type of render, but with different lighting. So that's kind of going to give us a different result than what we got before. And depending on your scene or whatever, you can get a different result. Now, you can see here that there's these are more in the shadow, the guns are, and this part is not. Fortunately, one of the things that adds more drama to this is the floor, and we had that off, so I'll go ahead and turn that back on. It should be a pretty fast render. Let's recompute those shadows, and we should be good to go. All right, so let's see. We got some people asking questions. So Rizal AR, hello back. And so here we go. You can see that kind of, I've got a dramatic kind of long shadow happening this way. And if I want this light to be in the back, I can just move this light over to here and just click on it once. And that places it in the back. And we'll do another render. How do I load Z3D files from ZBrush into ZBrush? Okay. It's interesting. I know Paul showed that, and it's a feature that was in ZBrush Core and ZBrush Core Mini. So, but I've never tried it, so I can't answer that question. But I'm sure it's pretty easy to find out. I think if you watch one of Paul's previous streams or whatever, or you can just kind of type it in Google. I think it's a pretty easy. I think you just import it. Just go to File, Import. So here, oops, that's not what we wanted to do. Let's jump back here and re-render this. I think if you go to just File and Import, let's see, is there an option there? File Open. Did you try File Open? That's the first thing I would do. And the other thing I would do also is do a load tool or import. So try those three. It's one of those three should work to load it in. Are the stream title seems not right in here? I wonder if it's only. I'm sorry. What are you talking about? The thing on top? Which title are you talking about, Venner? And then Chris Jesus. I thought it was Paul. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. You can see now that the light is coming from the back, right? So you can kind of see the back of the legs lit, and the rest of the mech is in the shadows, and then there's a shadow cast to the front. So not only am I getting this really cool kind of painterly look, but I'm also getting interesting shadow effects by moving the light. Now make sure that when you're doing that, you're choosing a material that's down here, one of the standard materials, and not a matte cap, because matte caps usually have lighting baked in, so it might not work for that. Okay, so yeah, I mean, this kind of is a good way to get an idea of how your image and your model reads, and if it reads well like this, then it's probably going to read well once I load it into KeyShot and start adding all the different materials and whatnot. So, which brings me to why do I have this kind of clown colored mech? And that's because what I did is I went through the entire mech and assigned a material to things that I want to be specific materials. So the matte cap red wax, so I just basically go here, and it doesn't matter if it's a matte cap material or if it's a standard material. It's going to load it into KeyShot as its own thing. So I can load in all of these red, I can assign one material, and all of these red wax matte cap objects will get that one material, regardless of where they are. So I will probably portion this out, and I might do that today, is portion this out into movable parts. So I know that this top leg here is one part, so I will probably combine all of these into one. And then this kind of bottom part of the leg would be another part, right? And then the toes each would be one part, and then this kind of back stand or toe would be another part, right? And then I would have this kind of torso be one part, this hip area be one part, and then I'll have this top thing be one part, and then the guns be one part so they can swivel. So all of these basically, I will try to combine them. And the nice thing is that if they have different materials. So here, for example, a good one to show about this would be, let me hide all these, and just have the bullet feed, and let's hide the people as well. So right here, so if I look at these guns, for example, right, so I could probably take this entire gun assembly here and merge them into one subtool. Okay, and then when I load it into KeyShot, it will come in as one, but it won't come in as one. It'll come in as multiple pieces, but the pieces will be separated by the material, right? So all these orange pieces will be one object. These ones will be one object, and so on and so forth. And then I can just assign materials to those, and then it will assign the materials that way. That's a lot easier than to actually assign each object a material in KeyShot, which might take a lot of time. Another thing also is that I've got a few things here that are a little bit different. So I've got, I guess if I just hide these three. So I've got the bullets showing up over here, and notice I've assigned materials to them as well. So this is going to be from the kind of the flexible feed shoot brush that I'm going to be selling soon. I keep saying that, and things keep popping up, and it's getting delayed, but it's mostly done. It's just a matter of packaging it and creating all the promotional materials, which again, it's just me, so it takes a little bit of time. Anyway, so I've got this bullet feed, and then I've got covers for it, which I'm going to probably make transparent, like some sort of transparent plastic material. So I've got three different options. So I've got this one as one, and then I've got this one, which is a little bit different. And notice I've applied micro mesh to these, so they have kind of a bit of a material to them, kind of a, if I show the polyframe, you'll see that the one that I'm on, you can see that this is all geometry. It's simple geometry, but still it creates kind of an interesting visual. And And then there's a third one as well, which is this one right here. So like I said, there's 3 different ones, and let me turn pilot frame off. So this one looks a little bit different. So there is A, B, and C, and I'll probably load all 3 of these into KeyShot, see which one of these looks better than the rest, but right now I've got all 3 of them, so I'll probably just bring them in and then hide them in KeyShot. And in addition to that, I also have another thing that I've got different views of, and that's this radar down here. I think I talked about this last time, but this kind of radar or microwave or whatever, I haven't really decided what it is. But I've got 3 different ways of it folding, so I have 3 different poses that it could have. And again, these are all there, and when I load them in, they will be there. So, you know, not all 3 of these are going to be there at the same, just one of the 3 will be there. But right now, so I can choose that, you know, option of him to be, let's say like this. I think I turned something else off here. Yep, this one. Right, this one and this one. So if I wanted just the closed ones, I could just have that. So, you know, if it's kind of running forward, it doesn't want to use those as air brakes. It would kind of fold them this way, and then the mech could run forward. And then once it stops and it's going to shoot, it starts to open up to this position. So that's some articulated parts there. I don't have any other ones. Those are the only 2. And then after that, it's pretty simple to articulate the different pieces that I have. So today I'll see if I can combine the different pieces, and then next time we'll load it all into KeyShot and get some cool renders from it. All right, so we got some questions coming in. Chris Jesus is still starting to load them in. Tried them all, neither worked, but thanks anyway. All right, so let me ask you this. What version of ZBrush do you have? You might not have it, the right version. So just to let you know, I'm using, and I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it because I've got the title bar on here. Let me see if I can hide that for a second. Yep. So up here, you can see I'm using 2021.6.6, which is the latest version of ZBrush. So I highly recommend that you get that version installed. So, you know, if you have if you're on 2016, might as well, I'm sorry, 2021.6 or 2021, any version of it. I recommend you go to 2021.6.6. It's a free upgrade, so why not do it? It fixes bugs, adds features, and I've been using it since it came out. It's pretty solid. All right. For micropoly to look good, you need the polygons of the base mesh to look okay. So ChezRX, that's a really good point, and thank you. So yes, that is the case. So I'll kind of do an example here. So let's say I take this, and I'm going to go ahead and use my insert mesh brush here, which by the way you can get for free from my Gumroad. And if anybody's interested, just ask a question and I'll bring it up and show you where you can get it. And let's say I've got something like this, right? I've got a sphere, and if I press W and click it, it will replace my my star with a sphere. Okay, so let's say I've got this sphere, and if I look at the polymesh of this sphere, you'll notice that all of the squares here are almost the same size, right? But these corner ones are a little bit different. So here, if I go in and go to dynamic subdiv, so here we are, and dynamic subdivision, turn dynamic on. So I get this. Of course, it's giving me 2 smooth subdivision levels. I'm going to crank that down to 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn micropoly on and just choose maybe this guy right here. Now, maybe that's not the best one. I'm going to choose a closed one. How about this one? Okay. So you can see here, this looks good, right? Because those are pretty much the same size. Those squares that it's applying them to are pretty much the same size. So this is actually looking pretty good. But let's say I go ahead and turn dynamic off for a second, and I use something like, let's say, the extender, and I'm going to go ahead and use the extender here and extend this out like this. So now notice that I've got these long, thin polygons, And if I accept that and go back to turn dynamic back on, notice that these kind of things here, it's actually kind of a cool looking thing, but it's not the same size, right? So I don't really have the same effect here. So what I would need to do is I would need to go back into here, and let's undo this. And when I do my extender, I need to make sure that that I've got the same kind of square sizes here. So to do that, I actually have to add some additional, that's not it. I think it's, where are you? I think there is another thing that adds more. It's one of these two. Okay, now it's symmetry, resolution. Okay, so here notice I'm adding more squares. So I kind of want to add squares that are pretty much the same size as the other ones there. So that looks good. And if I turn dynamic on, now I've got that evenly shaped, all these are evenly distributed. So that's kind of what I want. And if I want these to be smaller, then I can add a smooth subdivision level. Now they're smaller. And again, notice that they are pretty well most everywhere except here. They look a little bit different, right? So when you get to an area like this, where you got a pole with 3 vertices, and let me turn dynamic off to show you. So most of these have 4 edges, each one of these vertices, but this one has 3. So it creates these kind of different shaped polygons. So when you turn dynamic on, you can see that this is going to be a little bit different over here. And as you go up in resolution, so here I'm going to go up to 2, you can notice it more as you add more subdivisions, right? So there are ways around that too. One way is to go ahead and let's go ahead and accept this one. So I'm going to go ahead and accept it. So I'm going to apply oops, wait, before I do that, let me turn micropoly off. And let's go ahead and go to 3 subdivision levels and apply it. So I've got this kind of nice pill shape here, more or less nice. I kind of, there's a bit of an angle here that I don't like. That's why I have actual pill shapes, oops, in my brush. And I don't know why this is kind of, maybe it's because it's too big. Let me make this window a little bit smaller. Here we go. And as I scroll down here, I've got these pill shapes that actually fix that kind of roundness issue over here. But, pardon me. So here, if I've got this shape, and now you can see that my polymesh, it's got these little squares, and I don't really have the little, the squares here are going to be not what I want them to be. So what I want to do is I just will ZBrush this, and ZBrush basically gives you more evenly distributed topology. So go to geometry here and go ahead and for good measure, this thing is symmetric. So I'm going to go ahead and turn symmetry on, X symmetry is on, and Y symmetry is on. And let's go ahead and go into ZBrush and ZBrush it. And I'm just leaving the defaults here. And when you do that, it will give you this. Now notice even with ZBrush, you get some areas where it's not evenly distributed. So you can do things to make your ZBrush work better. And some of that is to maybe go ahead and select all these polygons like so. Perspective on, so let me turn that off, and also let me lower the resolution. This is done easier when it's on a low resolution, so there they are. And all these are one poly group, and then I'm going to invert. Let me actually choose my select brush here. I'm going to invert this, and I'm going to make all these one poly group, and then bring these back. And I'm going to go ahead and remove these creases, uncrease all. Right, so this is the shape that I have, and now if I go back up in subdivision level, this is what I have. And now if I ZBrush it, right, now I'm getting a little bit of a better result, but I'm still getting these here. And now if I go in and go to dynamic subdiv, turn it on, bring this down, turn micropoly on, you notice that I do still get a little bit of issues over here, and the way to fix that is to use the smooth function. So I'm going to use the smooth function, maybe make a little bit of a bigger brush here. use the smooth function, but the smooth function, you start it and then you let go of the shift key and you just move your mouse on the object. And I don't know if you can see it here, but it actually, oops, it actually goes ahead and let me unify this thing so it's a bit smaller. Where are you, Unify? Unify, there it is. Yeah, this will be a lot better. The brush is gigantic. Oops. Let's make it about this size. And notice here that as I move my brush, you can see it relaxing more and more and more. And then, you know, you can maybe push these out a little bit. So I think there is a relax brush. Where are you? Is there one? BR. I might not have it here. But anyway, you can have it so it pushes these away instead of kind of bringing them down closer to each other. Let's see if, yeah. So, you know, it's kind of a thing where you should, you know, the topology and the size of the squares definitely make a big difference. But in my, let's go ahead and delete this. We don't need it anymore. But for me, for kind of the thing that I had on this, nope, that's not it. This one right here, I think they're working out well. So if I look at this one, for example, let me solo it out. If that's what I have selected, nope. Let me go to it. I think they're at the end. This one, F. Let's turn double on so we see the inside and turn polyframe off. Okay, so you can see here, it looks pretty even. For the most part, it doesn't look like there's any bigger ones, and that's because I basically zero meshed these guys just to get as even sized polygons as possible. Yeah, so that worked pretty good. Okay, and then the other thing is that all right, so these are the guns, and I explained the colors, so we're good there. Now let's go ahead and turn everything back on. I did a little bit more work on the hatch, just because it was looking pretty empty. I put some kit bash parts in there and whatnot. And I also put these things over here because I thought, like, if the mech is kind of standing up in its full kind of capacity, then if people wanted to get down, these would kind of be zip lines, and they would just jump on them, and you know, a line would drop down, and they would zip line down to the ground. All right, and the other thing I also did is I used another one of my flexible feed shoot IMM brushes to create this kind of ammo drum to Gatling gun bullet kind of feed. And the one on top here doesn't really need it, so that's that over there. So yeah, for the most part, I think this is pretty much, I'll call it done. There's a couple of things I also want to do, like this part right here is some sort of plastic, and it looks pretty stiff and symmetrical. So today I'm going to work on this to get it to be more cloth-like, and then maybe do a little bit more surface detail, and then I think we'll be done with the modeling. All right, so if there are no other questions, I can move forward with that after I get a drink of tea. All right, so let me check something real quick here. All right, looks like we got quite a few people on here. That's great. Thanks for coming on live, and hopefully if you aren't watching this live, or if you want to watch the previous episodes, you can go here to Pixologic's YouTube channel, right? And if you go to videos, you can see all the videos. So here's one Paul did today, which was pretty neat, on the new features on 2021.6.6. But there's quite a few other really great streamers, and you can, based on the type of work you want to do, you can find out, you know, you can watch their streams. And notice here that this is last week's. And as you scroll down, you can find all the different ones. Of course, you can always type in my name in the search, and you can find it there. So that's one place to get it. And then the other place is if you go to ZBrushLive.com and go to presenters, and then find me in the presenters. If you scroll down, so here's all the presenters. You can see there's quite a few, and I'm down here over to the left. If you click on my picture or click on here, you basically will go down and see all the different episodes all the way from the start. So this was a previous mech that I did, and so this is how we started. So notice when I created this kind of sketch, it developed very slowly into this, right? And you can see the different kind of stages. And so if it works kind of as a blocky model like this, it's going to work well with all the details added. So that's how you can watch these two. And we'll talk about some other things later. All right, so back to our mech here, and I guess let's go ahead and start working on this cloth part right here. So again, I'm going to change the material just for now. I'm going to make it something like, I don't know, let's just choose basic material 2, and make mRGBs on. Let's fill that object. So there's, I guess it's 2 different parts. So let's go ahead and do both of them. And then there's this one. This one I think is okay. No, I think this one needs to change too. So I'm going to fill that object too. All right, so these 2, and then let's add a color, and let's add another kind of different color than what we have here. So, that's too much, too saturated. Maybe this one, lighter blue, maybe even lighter than that. Too light. And again, these colors have nothing to do with what I'm going to be coloring these things later. But for now, I just want something that's more visible. All right, so here we are. And what I want to do is I want to create a different version of these. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and go to them. So there's one, and let's make sure they're close to each other. Is the other one in legs? I guess it is. Right. So if this one is in the legs, yep. So, all right, that's fine. I mean, they're just, they're just in different parts. But I can move this one to the hips, but I think I'll just leave it there for now. All right, so let's start with this big one first. I'm going to select it. So I've selected it here, and I'm going to duplicate it. So I've got a copy, and I'm going to start hiding stuff that I don't need to see just to make my screen work a little bit faster. So radar is gone, and let's hide the people. I haven't gone in and named everything. When I'm working with other people on a job or in a studio, naming is very important. So I go in and name everything, but here it doesn't really matter. By the way, I thought the legs would kind of look good on their own too, like maybe in a lab or something. So that's why I created this hinge area over here, just added a couple of subtools just to add some visual interest. Okay, so... and I don't know if I need to see the legs for this one, so I'm going to hide those as well for now. So all I have showing are just the hips. And what I want to do, again, I've got the duplicate here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one, which I'm going to be working on. And I don't want it to be any smaller than this. This size is fine. So what I'm going to do here is go into the dynamics, and I'm going to go ahead and say, let's create a collision volume. So what that's going to do is it's going to take all the other visible subtools and make them into a collision volume. And let me make sure these are the only things that I'm showing. It is. And so that whatever I do here is going to collide with the pieces that are already there. All right, and then the inflate is a bit too much. So I'm going to pump that down to, let's say, about 0.01. That's good. And... try that one more time, 0.01, okay. And I'm just going to recalc this. Now the resolution is 2048, that's good. Number of iterations, I'm going to pump this up to, let's say, 256. So I've got everything that I need here. I'm not going to simulate it. I'm actually going to be using one of the brushes that come with the dynamics capability. So those are... over here, I've got them in another menu. So let's go ahead and pick cloth nudge. Okay, so now I'm just going to go in here and let's turn symmetry off. And I'm just going to go nudge this around. And you can see automatically it's kind of trying to conform to those shapes. Now, I think a mistake that I made is that I made it conform to these shapes too, which I should not have done. So let me turn these off too. So the only thing that I have is this other one of the same thing. And I'm going to recalculate again. And this should go pretty fast. All right, so now it basically is not going to react to the rest of the meshes, but it is going to react to the initial one underneath. And now I can just go in here and start nudging it around. And notice here that just by moving it around a little bit, it's getting the effects of the expand. So I'm going to turn the expand off. And now I'm basically just kind of nudging things around to get a little bit of a different symmetrical look, so it doesn't look like it's very symmetrical. You know, it's going to be hard to get cloth to look symmetrical, and I can tuck these in later. I don't care about them. But here I'm just kind of moving this around, and you know, the intensity of this brush is at 100, so it's moving them around. And if I make this brush size a little bit bigger, then I can move bigger chunks of it around. And notice it's just reacting to the bottom part and not intersecting with it, but reacting to it. So here I can just kind of maybe make a little bit of a wedgy kind of a thing over here, and yeah, just kind of move these around. And let's choose a different brush here. I'm going to go ahead and choose, how about, let's do this one, and see if we can get some creases in here. And I don't know what the resolution of this thing is. Let's turn polyframe on. Oh, I've got, yeah, look, I've got dynamic subdiv on, so let me go turn that off. I'm sorry, not dynamic subdiv, but yeah, I do have dynamic subdiv on, and I do have micro poly on. But let's go ahead and you know, let's go ahead and subdivide this once. So notice here that's a pretty low poly mesh, right? So I'll go ahead and subdivide it once, and now I've got 2 subdivision levels, and now I can just get a little bit more detail, maybe one more time, and I will turn dynamic off. So I'm getting a little bit more detail. Now I'm getting kind of more of the tertiary detail. Let's turn polyframe off. So you can see now that I'm getting you know, a little bit more of these defined wrinkles, and just tapping them with the smooth makes things look a little bit better. So I know that since this is intersecting with this piece of metal here, this would be a good place to kind of add these wrinkles, because this is where it would be wrinkling out from. And just smooth those out. Right. And notice here it's not intersecting with what's there, and you can always also inflate this as well. So based on how this would be moving mechanically, you can kind of go in and define these places. And this is kind of a really welcome addition for me in ZBrush, because it is hard surfacey, but it's also a nice way for me to, you know, do organic kind of cloth looking or rubber looking shapes with, you know, minimal effort, because otherwise I'd have to sculpt these. And I mean, I used to have brushes and alphas to do it with, and it was nice, but not this nice. I think I get more of a organic kind of look this way. By the way, if you watched my last stream before this one, and I used Mixamo to pose the character, I think it was either the last one or the one before that, I'm not sure. But Pablo Munoz Gomez, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name correctly, put up a video that shows how to do that with multiple subdivision levels, and also with the different subtools on the character. So if you're interested in doing that, I was going to do it in my video, but he did such a good job in his that I will leave it to you to go check it out on his video on how to properly you know, use the different subtools that you have. So if you have a guy that has a bunch of stuff on him, like a backpack and you know, ammo bags, or I don't know what are all the different accessories that you can go in and move those as well. All right, so this is coming along very nicely here. And I'm just going to continue to use, this is basically the cloth pinch brush, which is super, super useful. And I'm just going to go around the mech here and add these type of details. That will, you know, I mean, if I get close up, I will be able to see them. And depending on how you know, close to this the camera is going to get, or the render is going to get, I can add or remove details as needed. And notice here, it's just not, it's using the one underneath it as a kind of a guide to not go below. I do have some intersections here, and that's why I chose kind of a contrasty color, but I can fix those later on without using the dynamics brush. So here I'm just going to inflate this a little bit, push it in. So now that looks a little bit more realistic. And again, this is such a kind of a pleasure to do. It's kind of organic sculpting, but with physics involved. All right, so this top part I don't really, you know, care that much about, but I'll do kind of go around this part here and add a little bit of those wrinkles as well. So you can see here, you know, this created a really nice effect. So first what I did is I just went in and inflated all the way around, right? So just inflate it out this way and then just go push it in. And that looks like it actually was pushed in by this metallic disc that's going to be, you know, what it's kind of connected to. So this is kind of a really cool way to basically, you know, and you don't want to be too heavy-handed because you don't want it to like look super wrinkled, but you want to just subtly kind of create that effect. See, now that looks like it's coming out of there. My left hand is cramping up a bit, so it's a good time to maybe take a look at some of the questions and also get a swig of tea. MM line, yeah, it is pleasing to watch. It's even more pleasing to do. So this is kind of a really fun, you know, kind of one of those, if you want to zone out, put some music on and meditate, kind of meditative sculpting procedures is doing this. And again, you know, you do it in no time. And before, I used to have to take the pieces into Maya and do a cloth simulation, which, you know, it was easy enough, but you wouldn't get this level of control at all. So you just do your simulation, and what you get is what you get. And if it works, that's great. And if it doesn't work, you do another simulation. When you do enough of them, eventually you get something that works, or you go a different way. And I also used Marvelous Designer to do this kind of stuff. And Marvelous Designer actually, of course, I mean, this is kind of its thing. So Marvelous Designer worked really well. But then that's a whole other program that I have to jump out of, export everything, import it back in, and all that stuff. So this is a welcome addition to Oops. So here, what happened was I accidentally clicked on the piece that was underneath, which is not what I wanted to do. All right, which made this kind of metal thing into a cloth piece. All right, so that looks good enough. Let's see here. And again, I don't really want too much detail, but I want, you know, there are two pistons here. I kind of want to outline them. Like so. All right, let's kind of fix this back part a bit. And again, this cloth pinch one does wonders. And then if there are certain areas that I want to highlight more, so let's say if I had like not pistons, but had rivets or something in here. There's this other brush that's really nice for that, which is this cloth dimple, and that basically will do something like this, right? So if I had like rivets, I could use this to kind of make those rivet areas. I might add a few of these, why not? You just kind of move your mouse or tablet in a circular fashion, and you get those those rivets. Another thing I could have done is I could have done this whole thing in one shot. I could just make this bigger and just keep doing this. Let's see if it gets to it at some point. Solo. Yeah, it's doing it in the inside, but not outside. Maybe I need even a bigger brush. Let's see. Let's see if this works. No, it's not reaching. It's not reaching the. It's not. It's taking a long time to reach the outside part. So that's fine. All right. So I can maybe use that here in the corners to get a little bit of that wrinklage happening, if that's a word. Okay, so and you have to be really careful with this one because it kind of, maybe lower the intensity to half of what it is, so it doesn't just take over, and maybe, Yep. So let me go back to another one that's good is cloth pull, so you can kind of, pull certain things and get this type of effect happening. So here's one that created a nice effect down here. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. We start from up high, start from here. Right, so now it's basically creating this type of look. And I'm going to repeat that on the top. Like so. Right, so then I've got this. Again, if you just hit it with the smooth brush, you don't get that faceting. And you don't really need this geometry to be too detailed. Right now, I mean, it's pretty pixelated, but if I smooth it out, it actually isn't bad. And let's see, how many polygons is this thing that I'm working on? So it's about, if I don't have dynamics of div on, it's about 1.2 million. No, is it? Oh no, it's 12 million. So it is a lot, but it's still not. It's not obscenely a lot. Let me see how many subdivision levels I have. 3. Even if I go to level, this is. I think something is not right. I don't think it's that many polygroup. Let me see here. I don't think it's giving me that specific one. Let me see if it does it here. Here we go. No, current tool. I don't know why it's not giving me the number. Maybe it's, do I have dynamic on? Yeah, it's not giving me the exact number of it. Yeah, it should say current tool and it should give me a number. It's not. I don't know if I have a setting on that's preventing that, but after I'm done doing this, it will probably show me. So here, I'm just going to move these back and forth a little bit just to get a little bit of that there and there. Same thing here. It's funny, if I go to, here we go. Right, so that makes it more like it's actually hitting these areas. And again, just go in and smooth these out a little bit. Don't want to smooth them out too much, but just a subtle touch here will get it to work out better. All right, so you do the same thing here on the back. There's that, and that. All right, so that's looking a lot better now, and it's not looking as symmetrical as it did before. So I'm happy with this. So again, left hand is cramping up. I don't know why. Maybe it's the way I'm sitting. Let me readjust my keyboard a bit. Okay, so here, if I look at the before and after, right? So this is what it looked like before, which is still nice, but this is what it looks like after, which looks a little bit more realistic. So we're going to go ahead and accept that. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like with the rest of everything. So let's bring everybody back. bring the legs back. All right, so that is looking a lot better. I might keep this material on. It's fine. Oh no, what is it? No, we're going to add change it to a different material. So I'm going to change it to, let's see, what's one that I did not use. Let's choose one of these. Let's use wet clay. Why not? And fill object with wet clay. There it is. So that kind of looks good right there. Let me see if I need to do any kind of tweaking. Just, getting rid of some jaggies if there are any, but for the most part, I think this is looking decent. And the other one that was underneath it is hidden, so we're good there. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and switch to the move brush and see if there is anything that's protruding that I need to move out of the way. I think it looks good. Create a little kind of thing here for it, but that's fine. All right, I think that works. So we'll kind of get to this one and do a similar thing. I think I hid that one, which I didn't want to do. So once again, before, after, and I'm liking the after pretty much a lot. Okay, just move these around a bit, and yeah, so there's that. So M-line did I learn this by experimenting, or did somebody show me? It's just, I didn't learn it experimentally. I basically, when this cloth feature came out, I basically watched all the videos for that, and thought, okay, well, how could I use this? And the idea came to me when I was watching those videos, and I just tried it out. Now, I got to admit that this mech isn't where I did it first. I did it on a character, which I'm still working on. It's by no means done. Here, I'm just basically augmenting what I have here with just some additional sculpting with Damien Standard. So while I'm doing that, I can talk about it. But yeah, so no, I did this by doing clothing on a person, and actually I guess I can do that real quick. So here, let me see here. I'm gonna go ahead and load up a tool. Maybe, let's see, I think I have some people tools here. I'll go ahead and choose Super Average Man Low. He doesn't get too much love nowadays. I'll just bring him in. And let's say what I want to do is I've got this guy, and what I want to do is I want to create clothing for him. So the first thing I'm going to do, I mean, look at the topology of this thing. It's from a long, long time ago. This is, I think, from early ZBrush days. So the first thing I'll do here is I'll go ahead and retopo this. So let's turn symmetry on, and let's zero mesh it. Just default zero mesh. Let's see. We got something a little bit better. Right, so here's our guy, and what we want to do is we want to create some clothing for him. Let's say I want to create a shirt. So what I'll do here is I'll just go ahead and I've got symmetry on, so let me go ahead and choose the slice brush. Okay, good. And maybe I'll do a slice this way. Whoa, I didn't want to go all the way through. Let's mask the bottom part here for now. And I want to slice this way. And let's go ahead and, didn't want to do that. Okay, I think I pressed Control S by mistake. So basically I just separated these two out, and then what I want to do is mirror that to the other side. Of course, it's the other way. So here I've got kind of the beginnings of a shirt. And then let's say I want this shirt to be down this way. So now I've got basically this like that. And then, why not do one this way? Let's give them a kind of a turtlenecky type of a thing here. I think maybe at an angle would be better. All right, so I've got this brown part is going to be his shirt. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate this guy and then hide all these other parts. So I'm just going to choose this polygroup. And delete the hidden parts. Right, so now I've got this shirt on him, and then I'll just do the exact same thing. I'll go in here in Dynamics, and I'll say recalc. So that's going to recalculate it's going to recalculate whatever is not the shirt as what's underneath, right? And then I'll just go in and use those brushes again. So let me start out with cloth move and choose a big size here. Let's go ahead and turn off symmetry. And as I move this around, you can see that I'm basically moving the shirt on the guy and getting it wrinkled. So, usually there are wrinkles down here. And I could probably, give this thing a couple of subdivision levels. So I don't know, did I delete the hidden parts? I think I did. Delete hidden, okay. And Control D and D. Actually, before I do that, there are some weird, because I did that slice, there are some triangles and stuff here. So it's just easy enough to turn symmetry on and zero mesh this thing one more time. And so I get this. And usually Zero Mesher gives you a really good subject matter to work with. And I guess it did do some of the wrinkles, but I can just smooth all those out. And then just start over. Let me turn symmetry off. So you can see here that I'm starting to kind of move these around. So just looking at reference, I could start moving, the shirt kind of up. And that creates the wrinkles around here. And then move this down. And, so I'm just basically using the cloth pull, but it's probably a lot nicer if I just use that nudge, because I don't want to really pull the cloth too much. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to that nudge brush and just nudge the cloth around. Okay, the undo history, that's fine. And see, now I'm just basically moving this around this way. So yeah, when I was watching those videos, when I was, I think actually I was on the beta for when this was happening too. I created a tutorial on the different folds there are on the body. And by doing that, I learned all these things. That's another thing I'm going to release at some point as soon as I can. I don't know if I'm going to do it as a video series and put it on Gumroad, or if I'm just going to do images. Yeah. So, you can just start moving these around like this. So it's conforming to the body underneath. I mean, the body underneath is pretty polygonal, so that's why it's kind of getting this weird kind of chest thing. But let's say this is on top of armor or something like that, so it works out pretty well. So you can go in here and just say, okay, it moves up this way, the shirt, right? And if I turn polyframe off, this probably looks a lot better, right? So there's that. And then if I want even more detail, I'll subdivide it one more time, right? And then that kind of gives me a little bit of extra wrinkles and whatnot. And again, you hit it with the smooth brush a few times and you get, some really interesting results, right? And, or another thing you can also do is you can just run the simulation. So I've got gravity on here, and I want this to contract, run the simulation. Wow, I've got my gravity is way too high. So I'm going to bring the gravity down to, let's say, 0.1, and run this again. Right, and you can see that this is kind of conforming to that shape, right? So stop it and then expand it out and run the simulation again, and that will give me all these wrinkles, which are way too much. But it's fine because you can just stop the simulation and then just smooth out where you don't want the wrinkles to be. So now this looks like kind of more of a, it creates an interesting type of a look. But you can just smooth out where you don't want wrinkles to be, and then so you've got this going on, and then you can just go to that nudge brush or the cloth pinch brush, and you can just kind of pinch, under the arm here a little bit. Turn the expand off, right? And you can get some really kind of cool looking. I guess this was not the right guy to, the other super average man was actually a better choice. But you can kind of get the idea of how you can kind of make clothing really fast. And then the other thing you can also do is if you want to manually do the stuff, I did this again, Control A, and let's choose this transpose cloth. So it's just another transpose brush that's cloth based. And then you can, maybe you can mask this bottom part if you don't want it to move. Let's not autosave. And I want to maybe do that top part too, so I don't want that to change. I don't want the shirt to kind of constrict that way. And probably it would be better if I choose the mask lasso and mask this way. And I don't have symmetry on, so I have to do it on the other arm, which is fine, like so. And then if you just do this, you know, you can kind of create wrinkles based on where this is, right? So here, if I want to do the arm, this is totally off the tangent off of the mech, but it's kind of a cool thing to work with. And here you might want to just mask off the rest of the shirt. So you're just working on this area and just do this. So you notice here that you're getting some pretty cool looking wrinkles that come to play. And then just smooth it out, right? And that looks pretty realistic right there. And you can always smooth out whatever wrinkle you don't want, and it creates some really cool effect. So yeah, it's just a really cool technique to use, yeah. So since I did it with the clothing folds, now I can remember to do it with something like this. All right. So we're going to do the exact same thing with this part right here. So I'm going to select it. I think this one got hidden, so let's go ahead and show it. And solo this out like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the volume. Okay, so now it's recalculating this. Oops, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Control, it doesn't matter. I need to duplicate it first, which is, I forgot to do that. Where are you? Select it again, duplicate it, and then hide everything else but this. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to hide all these pieces again. And it's always good to have these in different folders so you can very easily hide and show what you need and don't need. So I don't really need the hips here. Where are the hips? They're hidden. That's good. And in the legs, for now, I just want to hide everything but this piece and this piece, right? So I've got one of these that is going to be the collision object, and the other one that is not going to be the collision object. So this one right here is not going to be the collision object. And I don't know if I need this, right? So there we go. I don't know why these legs are showing. Okay, here we go. All right, so the bottom one is the one that's going to be manipulated, and the one on top is the collision object. So let's go ahead and recalc that. There it is. So now if I do this, notice that I'm starting to make those effects on here as well. And I can bring the rest of the legs back because I want to see the different parts and how this is interacting with it. I think there's a faster way of turning these on and off. I like how Photoshop does it, where you can just run over the eyes and it turns them on. But it's not that many parts. Okay, all right, so here we go. So now I'm just basically going to manipulate these so they go around the pistons. So I'm going to undo the different, I just want to make sure I'm on the right part here, this one. And undo what I did before and just go to this and start working on it. And I don't know if I need to subdivide this one more time. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so good point. So notice here, this is not going to work very well because I've got some stretching going on over here. So simple enough, I'll just go ahead and re-zero mesh this. And when I do that, I'll get evenly distributed polygons. This is exactly what I want. And I don't need to do the other one. I just need to do this one. So let's unsolo this. And I don't know why it reverted to its old material, but it doesn't matter. And now I just have this, and let me do a, do I need to do another recalc? I do need to do another recalc. Frustrating. Okay, no worries. So what I'll do is turn all the subtools off. I think this is the way to do it faster. And we'll just turn this one on. No, I turned everybody else on. Let's hide everybody. Let's go in here, select this one that we're on. Come on. Let's do this one more time. This one, and just turn this one on. Yeah, it's going to do its all or nothing proposition. I'm sure there's a shift key or whatever to just hide all these, but it's no big deal. So one of the things that if you do CG you have to get used to is doing things over and over again until you learn the faster way, which I will research after this stream. Okay, so I've got the other one on, and then there's this one, and for good measure I'm just going to go ahead and apply basic material 2 to it. I don't know why, again, it reverted to the old material, but it doesn't matter. And RGB is on, fill object, and let's choose another bluish color, fill object again. So here we go. So there's one underneath and there's one here. Do I have transparency on? I do. Turn that off. Okay, so there is the part, and now I'll do the recalculation, and we should be good to go from this point forward. So it's always good to, whenever you're doing cloth, is to zero mesh your object beforehand, because you get more evenly distributed topology, and the results are much, much better. All right, so you guys are pretty quiet today, which is okay, but I'll ask some questions if you guys don't. So if anybody has any questions or anything you want me to talk about, bring that up. Otherwise, I will start asking questions of my own. All right, so here is the first question. Okay, so notice here that the geometry is pretty, probably another subdivision level here. So who has watched more than one of my streams? Okay, so well, let me ask this a different way. Who's watching this for the first time? Like my stream, this is the first stream of mine that you've seen. I guess symmetry is on, but I'm going to leave it on for now, and then I'm going to do some extra tweaks later. All right, so nobody wants to say anything about how many streams they've watched. Come on, guys. All right, so jambon fromage. So jambon fromage, are you Canadian or are you French? Oops, what's going on here? Okay, so Mont 3 is new. So cheese ham, are you watching this for the first time, or are you have you watched them more than once? Did I choose a different color? I did. Let's go back to our this blue color here. Let's fill the object again. All right, so okay, so we got somebody from Belgium. All right, so Belgian comics is really good. If anybody doesn't know, I'm a big fan of Belgian comics. So bienvenue. I do speak a little bit of French. All right, so this one isn't really working that well, this brush. I'm going to go ahead and choose my choose the cloth pull. Let's see if I get some better results with that, and I do get better results with that right off the bat. Okay, so this looks like it's pulling and pushing, so this is exactly kind of what I want to do. I might do the borders here a little bit, but this is exactly what I wanted. Right there. Right, so at this point I'm going to turn symmetry off, and all right, so Sebastian is new. Hey, welcome aboard, Sebastian. They have good comedians in Belgium. Like, who are some of your favorite comedians? And are they do they is there comedy in French? Mr. Ham and Cheese. If their comedy is in French, then I might not get some of the subtleties. All right, we'll just iron that out. So these are looking a little bit similar, so I'm just going to start this one over from scratch. like so. I don't want it to be too much of the same on both sides. Okay, that's looking good. And this is looking good as well. All right, casual from ZBrush, I have, okay. All right, so Chris Jesus said, yeah, there's always, there's different videos and each of them have their own strengths. Michael is great for showing different features. And whenever I do a search on Google, it usually leads me to one of his videos. So he either has some really good search routines going on, or or probably people are looking at his stuff a lot, which is also very possible because he does have very useful videos. And I used to see him every time at the ZBrush Summit. I haven't seen Mike for a long time, or at SIGGRAPH. This lockdown is kind of, I haven't seen a lot of people for a long time. I can't wait. I'm fully vaccinated, so everything is kind of on the up and up. So I'm hoping things will kind of get back to normal soon here. Things are looking pretty normal in LA. The traffic is back to the way it was before. All right, so that's good. Let's go ahead and apply a material here too. Now, of course, for the life of me, I'm not going to remember what material I applied to the hips. Oh, man, so everything is hidden, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do one of these guys. And that's going to show everything. It's going to show the room, which I made for a kind of a separate render, which we'll do at a different point in time. I've got a robotic arm, I'll hide that. It's showing all the people, which we don't want to see. Dismissal that I was going to do, and the backgrounds, let me hide those as well. Yeah, and so one of the goals that I have is, and also the gun centered, those are over here. The ammo drum is centered. I created in the center the Gatling gun and the gun centered. Okay, let me hide those. And with the people, I don't want to see this kind of one with all the height. And the one person that is in the room. Okay, so here we go. And I also want to hide this. And I also want to hide the one for the hips. So a little bit of kind of finagling here, not to see certain parts that I don't want to see. So this one is the good one, and this one was the one underneath, so we'll hide that one. Okay, so here this is looking a lot better. And for this one, over this guy, oh, wait a minute, did I hide that? Yeah, I did. Of course I did. Okay, so this is the one we want to see, and this is the one we want to hide. All right, so for this one, let me choose a different material. I'm going to choose for this one, let's say, this Madcap Brown. No, let's choose kind of a clay one. Let's choose this red kind of sculpey one right there, and turn MRGB on and do a fill object. So there's that. Oh, that's looking too similar. Let me pick something a little bit different. How about something... how about this reflect 3 or reflect 2? No, poly skin. Let's use skin. Why not? And fill object. There it is. It's going to go with this color. I'm going to turn that color off. Fill object. There it is. I don't know if I've used this one in somewhere else. So let's choose. Man, this is kind of what gets. Here, let's use skin 6. I know I didn't use skin 6. Fill object. There it is. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this guy right here. Object, choose it. There we go. Choose that one, and let's choose fill object. There it is. So now I've got these cloth parts, and they're looking a lot more plasticky, more clothy. I might just hit this with the smooth brush a little bit. Again, it's going to be seen probably from this distance, so I don't really need to see that much detail on these folds. So I'll make them a little more subtle. This looks like a weird hand. This looks like a weird hand giving the finger. All right. Let's see. I got some questions. What Show quick render. I want to see exactly what I should render out and okay. So the rendering, we're probably going to do more of that either today towards the end if we get to it, or next time in Keyshot. The thing I'm kind of worried about is if I send this thing to Keyshot right now, it's going to take a long time to get all these pieces into Keyshot. Probably not. I mean, I might do it towards the end, but I don't want to kill a good 10-15 minutes. So I guess the other thing I want to show is that I'm going to pose this in its sitting position. So this is what it would be like if it was like on a truck being transported or in a plane or something like that. And then when it stands up, this is the full height. So I kind of have this as a kind of a placeholder, and it's in the people. I can go ahead and turn that off. Like so. And let me go to the basic material here. Okay, and there we go. So something happened when I went to basic material. This part showed up as basic material. So let me go see what this part is and if I even need it. I guess it's kind of a nice thing that shows up over there. So I'm just going to go ahead and assign a metal material to it. And so I can just basically assign material to it when I render it out. Okay, so here we go. I think this is kind of done. I wanted to do one more thing, and that is I wanted to add a couple. I mean, I've got some lights on here already. So this over here on the guns. Let me see if I can zoom in. So this over here on the guns looks right here. This is going to be a light. So this round circle here is going to be a light. It's got one on the other side. This thing on the bottom, these are lights. And then these are lights as well. So these might be kind of more infrared lights or, different types of lights that show things, like if it's going to spot a mech in a bunch of trees, these lights would go on. These are just normal lights. But I also want to add one more light to this. Also, one other thing I wanted to do that I noticed is this over here, this pill shape, looks like it is, it's got some gradation. And I think I did subdivide this before, but let me make sure I've got creasing on here. I do. And so if I divide this, yeah, if I do dynamic subdiv, it gives me a smooth kind of, this is what I really want. I don't want it to be kind of like this. So, I mean, this could be an interesting thing, visual thing, but I don't really want this type of look. I want this to be more smooth. So I'm going to subdivide it a couple of times like that, maybe one more time, and then I get it to be very, very smooth. And that's kind of how I want this shape to be. So I just said notice that. And one more thing I want to do here, and then I'll go ahead and do a save, is I want to bring in this light. So this is a kit bash part. I wanted to do two things. One is I wanted to do this light, and also a lot of tanks and armored vehicles have these things. And what these things are their gas canisters, right? So they basically pump out gas canisters so that the mech could hide. All right, so we're going to use these. I'm not going to use them as is, but I am going to use parts of these kit bash parts. So let's go ahead and see how we're going to do that. I'm going to solo this one. I think it's exposed, so I'll bring it back into the middle here. Let's see if it is. Yep, okay, so that one was in the middle, so we're good. I'm going to solo it out. And so here, this is what this looks like, right? It's obviously a CAD part that's brought in, really horrible topology, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be pretty small, and there's a lot of parts here that I'm not going to use. All right, so we've got some so Chris, you're asking about rendering. I'll answer that question next time, or I'll answer it towards the end if we get time to move this thing into Keyshot. Where can you get a cap like the one I have? I don't know if this is one of a kind. I've never seen anybody else have this this cap. I actually got it sent to me by Pixologic, and then I've never seen anybody have this exact gray cap. So I don't know if it's a one-off or what the deal is with it. However, you can get a ZBrush hat if you want one. And I think they have some neat ones. Let's see, Pixologic.com. If you go to Pixologic and you go to Get ZBrush, and I think there is a, they used to have something here. Well, let's go to store. I think maybe it's in the store. Usually a good place to get it is at the ZBrush Summit. They usually have them at the ZBrush Summit, but Pixologic merchandise here. Here we go. They have a cap right there. And this one's pretty neat. Oh, wow. They have a glove now. Oh, I should hit them up, see if they'll send me one. Yeah, so there's a mouse pad too. Oh, all the things I didn't know. But yeah, here's the cap right there. And I don't know if you click on it, if it has different views. Yep, it does. There it is. Oh, nice kind of cloth back here. I like it. I might get another one if I go to the ZBrush Summit, if they have it this year. I don't know if they're going to have it. All right, let's get back to the topic at hand. Hopefully that answers that question. I've got something in either Chinese or Japanese here. So what I'm going to do real quick is copy that and put it into Google Translate. Let's see if I can see what you're saying and respond to you. All right, there it is. Okay, not bad, very powerful, it says. Thank you. And it is in what? Chinese. Okay, so in Chinese, you said not bad, very powerful. Thank you very much. And so now we have this. And what we want to do is we want to remove parts of it that we don't want. So now this is an assembly part in CAD, meaning that there are different pieces that have been put together to make this part, but right now it's all one polygroup. So what I'm going to do here is go to polygroups and oh, it's a Mandarin. Yeah, okay, cool. I don't speak Mandarin, unfortunately, so I don't know. But if you do, then that's great. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and go into polygroups here and click on auto groups, and that's going to give each one of these assembly parts a different polygroup, right? And now the next step is I want to separate these things out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to subtool here and go to split to similar parts. So what that's going to do is it's just going to split this into different parts here. And let me hide this one, turn this all off. So now I've got all these different parts. So I am going to keep this outside part, so that's good. And now I don't see what these are. A good way to see this, turn transparency on, and they're these little screws. I don't really care about these screws, so I'm going to delete them. There's the screw holes, which are fine, but I don't really need the screws themselves. Here's another part that's down here. I don't need these parts, so they can go away. I don't need these little parts. They can go away. I don't need that one, or the ones behind, or those parts, or those parts, or that part for all that matters. I don't need this one. So now it's basically just showing me all these different parts. I'm deleting them. This one I kind of would like to keep, but it's too thin, right? And I don't know of a way to make this thicker. Let me try inflate. I mean, it probably won't work, but why not give it a try? And again, since this is not good topology, it's going to probably do something freaky, but let's give it a try. Not bad. I mean, that's kind of not bad, you know, as a base. So what I'm going to do is inflate it a little bit, like so. So the trick thing is that it's going pretty quickly from like really thin to really thick. So I'm going to go in here and start typing in values. Maybe put in a 5. Oh. Start from the beginning. Put in a 5. 5 is really too big. Let's go for a 2. 2 is good. Okay, so I like this now, but the topology is kind of crashing into itself and doing all these weird things. So this is a good time to go ahead and do a ZBrush on this guy. So go to geometry, ZBrush, and what we're going to do here is we're going to do detect edges. Let's see what kind of a result we get with that. Right, chug, chug, chug. And it's actually not bad. What I'm going to do here is go ahead and turn on symmetry. Now the other thing that it's kind of freaking out on is this inside part over here. But that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and re-ZBrush. And I'm going to solo out this part so I can see it. So all this area here that's kind of crapping into itself, what I'm going to do is just smooth that out. Do I have symmetry on? Yeah, I do. Cool. So I'm just going to smooth this out as much as I can. Looks like there are parts in here too, so I don't really want those parts. So I'm going to delete those parts. And I've got these weird holes here, which I don't care about. And I'm going to do a mirror and weld here just so I get exactly the same thing on both sides. Smooth this inside part out a bit. Of course, this is kind of ruining its kind of crispness, but I don't really mind. And I'm going to go ahead and zero mesh this one more time because it's going to be pretty small. All right, so this is kind of, I don't know if this actually goes through. It does. It's a hole. All right. So if I want to fix these holes and this one down here, I don't really want these holes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the inflate brush. And make a brush palette here and just inflate these like so. Let's see. This is actually holes. So I'm going to close these holes. Where are you? Close holes. No. Wrong menu. All right, this one. Close holes. What the heck? This one doesn't go through. What's going on here? Let's get a closer look. Let's turn double on. Yeah, so this is kind of an open area. I don't know why it's not closing it. Close holes, please. Yep, there we go. Okay, so those the holes are closed. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and go to clay tubes or something. Just one of these brushes and go ahead and turn on this guy. And just do this. And kind of mash these things together as much as I can. You can use topological also, but just kind of add, just wants, just kind of do this. This is actually not working as well as I'd like it to. Another thing I can also do is this is another nifty trick, is I can use the pinch brush, which I don't have here. BP, pinch, 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 where are you? There it is. And just pinch these together. I don't need Sculptress Pro mode on for that. And pinch this together this way from the back and from the front. And then let's, I think I undid the closed holes, so let's close the holes here. And let's pinch this guy too as much as we can. And I'm going to go ahead and go to clay tubes here and add some bulk to this area. And I'm going to do something, I'm going to do a kind of a two-step process. The first thing I'm going to do is Dynamesh this. Whoa. Let's Dynamesh it with a high resolution. Let's go to 1024. And this is just a temporary stage. Dynamesh, there it is. So now I've got this shape, which is a little bit better. And I'm going to go ahead and inflate this area a little bit more. At this point, I'm thinking it probably would have been faster if I just made this thing from scratch. But, sometimes you don't want to. And so now let's just Dynamesh it again. Dynamesh one more time. Okay, so that's looking better. One more time, Dynamesh. And Dynamesh basically gets rid of that hole in there. And this one too. All right, so that's good. Now I'll zero mesh it. And I should get a better result like that. And I'll just use H polish here. And just straighten this out. Straighten this out. Let's go off of this. And straighten that out like that. Straighten that out like that. Straighten this out. So you can see here I can get pretty much to the shape that I wanted in the first place. And this looks a little thin over here, so let me just inflate it out. So this is hard surface, kind of organic, fusion type of sculpting, I guess you'd call it. All right, so I've got this shape, you know, more or less the way I want it to be. Once I'm done here, I'm going to go ahead and continue to zero mesh this, but I'm going to zero mesh it so it's got less topology. And let's see how low we can get it to go. One more time. All right, and if I want to kind of, you know, add a little bit more to this, I can use clip curve just to kind of straighten out any edges that I want to be more straight looking. Again, this is going to be pretty small, so it's not going to really matter that it is not very precise. All right, oops, that didn't take. One more time. Here we go. Cool, and one last zero mesh will get us, I think, what we need. All right, there it is. Okay, that's good enough. And it's pretty low, polygon count, so it's not really going to matter. So there's that, and that looks a lot more like what I wanted it to be. However, I want it to be shorter. So let me go back to my regular mask here. Select this, bring this down. Whoa. Okay, so what happened there is that I had the transpose line for cloth selected. So I want this to be maybe a little bit more like this. Okay, let's zero mesh it again. All right, and also I want this to be a lot wider. So I'm going to just go in here and do a quick extend. Well, I guess I could do it this way too. Oops. No, I just want to extend it just to keep those round edges. So I'm just going to do this. Okay, so this is exactly the piece I want. One more zero mesh, and we are done with that piece. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is this one right here. And what are those? Those are those kind of things on the inside. I don't think I'm going to see them or need them, so they're gone. I don't need these wires. By the way, it's easier to see these things if you don't have Ghost on, so I don't need these wires, so they're gone. I don't need this big area in the back, so that's gone as well. All right, so this is the light bulb. I'm going to keep that, keep it exactly the way it is. It's kind of a part inside. I'll keep that as well. Now I went somewhere else. What is this? Over here, it looks like two little dots somewhere. Don't need them. This back panel I do need. Light switch I don't need. That part I don't need. This part I definitely do need reflector. No, excuse me, reflector. Do I want to keep this part? Let's see, does it show? It does show, and it's a cool part. I'll keep it. All right, and now let's see. What's this? Okay, those would look nice. I'll keep those ones, and then these are the rings that go around them. I'll keep those as well. All right, so I'm pretty happy with what I've got. This thing over here is pretty, has got some things I don't really want. So I'm going to go back to just solo this piece out. Actually, I can just get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of this whole piece. And let's bring this back. And what I want to do here is this part right here is the part I'm going to keep, but I don't want this gap in the back. I want to close it up. So I'm going to do a couple of tricks here. So turn double on so I can see what's going on. So this piece has this front part open and this back part open. Iron Man, I'm not Paul. So Paul was on earlier, did a really good show. I was watching it before I started this. You're saying so much trouble, but it's really not that much trouble. I mean, you know, sculpting this or modeling this from scratch would probably be a lot more trouble. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use close holes. Actually, let me see if I just do a blanket close holes, what I would get. All right, I get that. Janky geometry inside, janky geometry there. But I don't really care about that. I just want that back part to be closed. Again, this is going to be small, and I don't really need a sophisticated topology. However, I do want this back part to be longer, right? So I'm just going to go to solo here and go to use the extender again, which is something I use all the time with CAD parts because it works, and it works really well. So I'm just going to pull this out. So now I've got this big kind of light that is this way. And what else is really nice about Extender is you can do things like this, where you can make this smaller. And you can make this front part bigger if you wanted to. Let's see. No, I think this is good. I think this is too small, though. Maybe it goes in a little bit like so. And that's good. And let's add, do we want to add divisions? Yeah, let's add divisions. So here I'm just going to go in and add divisions this way. Nope, that's not what I wanted. This is what I want. So let's add some divisions, and you'll see why I'm doing that. Okay, so there are my divisions, and what I want to do here is just go ahead and do a polygroup. Polyloop, yep, and let's polygroup this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, like so. Maybe this one too. No, let's leave that one, and let's not do this one either. Okay, so I've just got these polygroups, and what I want to do is, since this is a light and gets hot, maybe this is some sort of a heat sink or some sort. I'm going to Q-mesh. I could ask polygroup them too, but it's easier to do it this way. So I'm going to Q-mesh these out like this, and well, actually, I'm going to do one other thing here. I'm going to inset them. Inset, polyloop, inset this much, repeat all that down this way. And then I'm going to go back to the Q-mesh, and I'm going to do polygroup all. I'll do all these in one shot, and then these are lifting up. And I'm just, if I hold the Shift key, I get this really nice effect. So I took a CAD part that was pretty janky and added some really neat detail to it. So now I've got this. And if I show everything else, this is the result I get. Where did all these other things go? Oh, they were inset. Okay, no worries. That's easy enough to fix as well. So all that stuff that is neat looking is inside here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Q-mesh this polygroup inward. Well, that didn't work out too well. All right, so let's undo that. Let's see what I can do here. I think I'm just going to get rid of this. Doesn't matter. So delete polygroup island and get rid of this hole we closed. So all this other, oh, that's what happened. So I'm going to leave that there. And what happened was, since I extracted this, it basically went backwards. So I'm just going to move this back over to here, like so. And it turns out we definitely do want to delete that inside part. So no worries. We're still on that kind of setting. So there's that. And so this is what this is going to look like. Turn polyframe off. And so now I've got this lamp. So I did start with the kit bash part. I did. And however, I didn't end up using a lot of the parts in it. And now it looks a little bit similar to what we had before, but it's different enough, and it kind of works a little bit better for what we want. So I've got this part here. Now I need to assign materials to it. So I'm going to assign materials to the different parts before I merge it down. So there's this outside part, and this outside part is going to be the same as my mech. So red medcap, red wax, I'm RGB, fill object. Okay, so there's that, and then I move down the list. I move down to this one, same thing, fill object. I've got some questions coming here. Let me answer them. Right. Okay, looks like a mechanical part that has accurate dimensions. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they probably, you know, this is from a kit bash part that I bought on ArtStation. So I don't know. I don't know if when they made it, if it was, you know, if it had dimensions on it. By the way, let me turn off symmetry on. It's not on, so that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and do this trick. Delete by symmetry and make this a little bit flatter. And while I'm at it, make this a little bit flatter. So yeah, I don't know if the dimensions are correct. I don't know if these parts, I don't know, again, I have no idea what the modeler who made those parts, if they made it accurate or if they followed certain procedures. They probably used CAD software or some software that basically was restrictive to, you know, it probably was NURBS based, so that's why you get that janky geometry afterwards. So here I'm just going to go ahead and mirror and weld this over to the other side. And I'm also, do I need to zero mesh it? I think we're good. Okay, so there's that part right there. So this is also going to be that red matte cap red wax. But as I move down, so this inside part, this is going to be light. So for light, I think I use sketch 4, fill object, and then I move down to that part down there, which is, which part is it? Okay, this inside part, and that could be light as well. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that with the light color. This is going to be reflective, so I'll go ahead and choose a reflected map. This one, I don't think I used it anywhere. So fill object, let's just make sure RGB is on. And now I've got this part out here, and I'm going to make that metal, like so, fill object. And what was this one? Okay, those 4 things, those could be metal as well, fill object. And what's this? The outside part, and those could be matte cap red wax, fill object. So now I've got all of these basically assigned the materials to them, and that's what I did for the whole mech. And now that I'm done with that, I can just merge these together. So I'm on the top one, merge down, merge down, merge down, merge down, down, and all the way to the end. And now I've got this piece, and it's got all the materials applied to it, so I can just copy this piece as is. Where are you? Copy. There you are. Oops. Nope, not all low. Doesn't matter. I think all of them have the same resolution. Now that I see this, I think I want to make one more change. Of course, I have to split it again. Split to similar parts, which is fine. And notice here it keeps all the polygroups. And one thing I want to do here is that I kind of don't like this kind of being flat over here, so I want to change that up. Let's see if I can do that and if the topology will allow me to. So I'm just going to select this and do something like this. Maybe mask this part as well, and then do something like this. Bring that up down this way, and then I'm going to mask this whole part like that and do this. So I kind of like this a little bit more. I'm going to do that from the other side. And what is going on? Oh. All right, so there's a better way to do this, and that is by using another deformer. But before I do that, I'm going to do one other trick here, which is going to mess me up a little bit, but that's fine. I'm going to use extender one more time. So go here, extender, and put this blue dot over to where I want to extend from, which is about here. And let's do another one of the extenders. So the thing with extender is it pulls it out from both directions, but that's okay. And now I have exactly what I needed to do. So we'll go ahead and accept this. Maybe not as much. Maybe about this much. And accept. And then we're going to use another deformer, which is going to be my deformer soft. And let's get some more things here. I don't want to mess with any of these guys. I don't want to mess with any of these guys, but I want this to be smaller this way. Okay, so that's working well, but it's not affecting this area. So what I want to do is maybe create some more of these guys like that. And I don't want to mess with any of these guys. I don't want to mess with any of these guys, but I just want to make this smaller. And this is exactly what I wanted to do, except I didn't want to do it to these parts over here. So what I can do is I can just go and mask these parts out as well. And let's see if this will work. It does work, but not the way I wanted to. So that's fine. Now I'll just go ahead and unmask these parts. And make this smaller too, but maybe I'll add a mask to here. No, it's not going to do it. Okay. Well, I guess the best thing to do here is accept this. Nope, wait a minute, what happened? Let me unmask these parts right here. And I wanted to mask these parts and unmask these parts. It takes a little bit of kind of playing around, but you can get it. And that's good like that. All right, so I think this will work. Right, and just make this smaller like so. All right, that's good enough. But I don't like this bulging part over here. And ZBrush is reminding me to well, I guess it's just going to do the quick save, so let's just let it do it. Wait for the program to respond. Let's let it do its quick save. I was going to save anyway. And let's see. All right, so the models that you build, are they for render only or for 3D? Okay, so I don't really, right now I'm making this just as a concept design. If I wanted these to be 3D printed, I would need to do do a lot more attention to things like making sure things are airtight and whatnot. And this level of detail, I don't think I could do in one print. Like, I can't just take this entire mech and send it to a 3D printer and say, go ahead and print this thing. I don't know if a 3D printer is made to do that yet. But eventually, I think they will have 3D printers that are more sophisticated. But for now, if I were to 3D print this, I would probably part it out. And I'd probably part it out in articulation form, because when I do a 3D print, if it's going to be some sort of collectible or a toy, I'd like to have some articulation points on it. So, so it's basically for right now, just for rendering. All right, so the save is it's kind of a lot of stuff to save, so it's doing its save. Let's let it do its thing. In the meantime, I guess I could bring up a few things here. Google Translate. There's the hat. There's the ZBrush stuff. But if you guys want to see a kind of a beginning to end tutorial of a mech, I actually have a tutorial on a Gnomon Workshop. So the Gnomon Workshop is a place you can go to, and there's it's got probably the best tutorials online from pros in the industry. And if you go and browse by instructor, go to my name here, you can see I've got two workshops. One of them is on retopology of 3D scans, right? So, and then this one here, more along the lines of what I'm doing here, is a mech. And notice it's a long video. A lot of it is ZBrush. I start in Oculus Medium to do some sketches, and then I go in and model this mech out in ZBrush, and then texture it in Substance Painter and render it in Keyshot. So if you want like a entire tutorial from beginning to end, I would recommend getting this one, because you can also get some tutorials on how to paint this thing if you want to create more detailed paint job on it and whatnot. So again, this is the Gnomon Workshop. You can see it there. If you want to get a hold of me, by the way, you can go to my website, kermaco.com, kermaco.com. And eventually this will be moving on to ArtStation. Again, another one of the projects I'm working on. I started working on it, but it's not live yet. And if you want to get a hold of me, here's my email. My Instagram is what I keep up most of the time. So if you go to my Instagram, notice here that I've got some renders of the mech on here already. And you can go back and see some of the earlier work that I've done. So this was from the last stream that I did last season. This one was from the season before, and this one was the season before that. But there's plenty of pictures here. There's some of my photography, a lot of neat stuff that you can see. And look, there is Iron Man, right? So there you are, Iron Man, right there. Okay, so if you guys go to my Instagram, you can follow me or drop a like on things that you like. It always is encouraging to me to see what people like, and so that way I can maybe do more work that way, but most probably I won't. Okay, so this thing got done saving. Let's go back into here and skip the ads, I guess. And let's, I guess if I can hide these two also, maybe I'll get a better result. I'm kind of not wanting to get this area over here changed. So one way of doing it, I just remembered, one way of doing it is just create more divisions. Like that, and then maybe not mess with these and not mess with these. And maybe now we'll get what we want, more or less. It's wanting to put one right here. I don't know why. It's just the luck of the draw. Let me see. Can I add more divisions? No, this is the max. Okay, I guess I could do this. No, it's gonna do it. All right. So I guess one other way of doing the same thing is to use a different deformer. So I'm going to cancel this deformer, reset it, not reset it to this, but so you can either accept or reset the deformer or delete the deformer. We don't want that. I'm going to use the taper deformer. Let's see if that works. So here there is a taper deformer, and let's see if that works. Like so. Nope. All right, so I guess this is the way it's got to be. Another way I could do it, I guess, is just to do it the old-fashioned way. So let's just reset this and do it the old-fashioned way, where I just select this and select that. And let's go ahead and delete the deformer and just, you know, do a masking of this area, which I don't want to change. Mask this area that I don't want to change, and just see if this will work. Press Alt, and yep, there we go. I don't know why I didn't do that in the first place. All right, are we at time? Oh my gosh, we are. We are at time. I'll go on a little bit more. I don't care. All right, I'll do this over here, and this kind of looks cool. All right, so there's our light. Unsolo it. And of course, I need to move this all the way back again so all these other parts can show. Turn off transparency. All right, so there is that, like so. Okay, so now we've got the light. It looks exactly the way I want it to. It looks a little bit like the kit bash part, but maybe not as much. And now I'll just go ahead and do the good old merge visible. I could do merge down, but merge visible works as well. What's nice about merge visible is that it basically creates another subtool, and here it is. Keeps all the poly paint and all that stuff, so we're good there. And now what I want to do is just copy this and paste it onto my mech. Let's go back to here. There it is. And let's see, where would be a good place to add this light? So I'm just going to use this part right here. Let's paste it. All right, where did it put it? Let's go to everything. It put it there, and let's go ahead and make sure that our we're centered in where it is, and also that it's at the center of the world. And then, whoa, what did you do? All right, let's just move it now. Bring it up. A good thing that I usually do is I usually bring it next to the guy here, right? And so here's the guy, and here's how, you know, here's where I decide how big this light is. So the mech is pretty big, so maybe the light is this big. Okay, so there it is. And let's see where I want to put these lights. Maybe I'll put one right up here. My model is getting a little bit sluggish because I've got all these parts visible. I can maybe make this a little bit faster if I'm not showing certain parts. So let's go ahead and hide the hips and legs for now, because we're done with those. And maybe the bottom guns too. And now I can just move this up. Notice now it's a lot spiffier. And let's say I want one of these guys up here. Kind of messing with the profile of the top part of the mech. I know I haven't been looking at questions much, but if you guys have questions, let me know. I will make sure I answer all of them before I end the stream. Luckily, I don't have something to go to after this, so I have plenty of time. So this could be a good place for it, but it's kind of messing with the profile of the mech, so maybe not there. So I've got these lights down below here, but this one might be a better one to have instead of what I've got. So I'm going to rotate this around. Maybe pop it down here like so. And let's see how that looks. I kind of like it better than what was there before, but I don't like this arm on it. So I'm just going to go to solo, and I'm going to select this, invert that. Let's do this, Control-Shift-A, invert it, and delete that part. After all that work, we're not going to use it. And let's see, this looks neat this way, and it looks neat right here. So I might use this instead of what was there before. Yeah, that looks pretty neat. Let's see if it looks good at an angle. Nope. It looks good like a big chunky block like that right there. And I do have a little bit of remaining area over there, but that's fine. I think I'm going to, yep, that's good. So let's mirror and weld this on the other side. Good, good. And that's looking a lot meaner than what we had before. And now I just want to get rid of what was there before. So let me go back to that light here, see if I can spot it. By the way, a good way to find a part instead of fishing through here is if you press M. I'm sorry, is it? It's N. Well, it's little parts here too. But let's see if I can find the light that was underneath it. That's people. It's down here somewhere. Where are we? I guess if I just kind of hover over these parts, I'll get, oh, here we go. There they are. So here are the parts. There's that. Okay, so that part inside, I don't really need that to be there. It's kind of a neat part though. Maybe I'll add it somewhere else. So maybe I'll just go in and do that off, off camera, I guess. One other thing I just noticed here is that this piece is protruding out of a certain area, so I might need to move these parts too. So I'll fix that as well off camera. All right, so let's see what questions you have. Iron Man, hey, thanks a lot for that. And yeah, so this is going to, over time, I'm going to, fix a few things here and maybe add those cylindrical gas tanks. I'll do that off camera as well, unless anybody wants me to do that. If you do, just let me know. And I will, I'll do that the first thing next time and then shoot these guys over to Keyshot. And the next week, all we'll do is just render this thing out and maybe do a couple of poses of it and finish it off there. So if there are no more last minute questions, we'll go ahead and kind of end this here. What I want to remind everybody to do is, again, if you watch this video either live or on the 3 different services that will keep them there, and you like it, definitely drop us a like. And if you have any, if you like it, you want to subscribe, you can subscribe. If you want to leave a comment, please do. We do listen to comments. And last but not least, if you have questions, again, you can ask the questions here, and you can also leave them in the comments and they'll answer them for you. So the question was, do I have a Twitch channel? And I don't have a Twitch channel yet. I mean, I do have one, but I don't have anything on it. If streaming is something I can make money doing, I will definitely continue to do that. But I currently, Sebastian, I don't have, Iron Man, I don't really have a Twitch channel yet. Sebastian, you're welcome. Hopefully I'll see you in a couple of weeks when I finish this thing off. And everybody, thanks for watching. Have a great day, morning, midday, whatever time zone you're in. And thanks for watching, and happy ZBrushing. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.